How's it going on? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below and I'll answer each and every question. So I did switch over to a tripod the last couple weeks. I've been adjusting it little by little. So let me know if this level looks pretty good to you guys down in the comment section below. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. And it is it better to resurface your rotors on the vehicle or off the vehicle? And the simple answer is going to be it is always better to resurface them on the vehicle. And the reason that is because a lot of times when people take out these rotors, they're not thorough and there's a lot of rust built up behind them. So on the rotor itself and on the hub itself. Now, if you do not clean that properly and you cut it off the vehicle, now you're going to cut it and it's going to cut unevenly. So there's going to be a high spot and there's going to be a low spot. When you put that rotor back on a car, now it's not going to be true and you're going to get some vibrations. Additionally, if you don't clean the hub and some rotor or some rust happens to fall behind there, even if you do clean it thoroughly, some of these rotors build up a lot of rust inside of them. As you're putting them back in, a little bit gets jammed in between the hub and the rotor, causing an uneven surface or a flat surface to be just off slightly. Does not take much. A tiny piece of rust could absolutely disrupt the flow of the rotor movement. So if any of these things happen, then there's a possibility that you're going to have some vibrations that maybe you didn't even have previously before. So you're going to want to make sure that if you can, by all means, try to have a on-car brake lathe. Now, not everybody has one of these. I personally take the fronts off, cut them off car, and I do the rears on the car just because of some certain vibrations that we got in the past from using the off-car brake lathe. So really depends on the situation. When I get used rotors, I usually have a couple of different things that I do to make sure no rust falls in between them. Also, if there is a bent hub from a previous accident or something, and now the hub is bent and the rotor, let's say, bent with the hub, now if you cut that rotor and you make it true and you put it on a bent hub, now you're going to get some vibrations as well. So if you can, at all times, try to cut it on the vehicle. That's always the best case scenario, but different shops have different equipment. So really depends on your shop and what they do. You could also obviously do rotor replacements, although some of these theories also apply to those. If your hub has rust on it and you don't clean it and you put on a new rotor on there, you're going to get some vibrations. If your hub is bent and you put on a new rotor, you're also going to get some of these vibrations. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is 2020 Honda Pilot. Should you disable the VCM on that? So this would apply for any of that generation Pilot, so from 16 to 22. And I have a full video on this subject. If you want to check it out, I'll have it in the description section down below. So personally, we don't see many issues with these Earth-Dream engines, which is what is on these Pilots. Previously, we saw tons and tons of issues with oil consumption and things of that nature. So with these current generations or that generation with the Earthstream's engines, we don't see many issues. Now, if that was your only concern, I would say don't do it. Now, if you want to go ahead and just have a smoother driving experience, so not feeling the transition from VCM to non-VCM, which Honda, in my opinion, does pretty good job of doing it, but it is not perfect. Then if that was your reason and addition to other reasons, then I'll say absolutely do it. Now, a VCM could also take a toll on different parts of the vehicle. So again, it's never a bad idea to do it. Tons of people do this. They say the driving experience is way better. I have one of these Pilots. I did not disable mine. I don't think there's a need to do, but it really depends on the situation. If you want a more overall smoother transition, then I would say absolutely. Now, there's going to be some fuel economic numbers that could take a toll. So your fuel consumption is probably going to increase a little bit, but if you don't want some of these drivability issues, then it is what it is. Just to know that there is, a smooth and fine line between, fuel economy and transition. It's not a big deal, but if you wanted to have the smoother transition and stuff like that, or no transition at all, I would say absolutely disable the VCM. Once again, if you want to check out that video, I'll have it in the description section down below. So this next question is 2013 to 2017 Honda Accords, 4-cylinder, certain vibrations with certain engine loads. So these engines and these cars are kind of known for having an unwanted vibrations. Now, it could also be a couple of different things causing an extreme, conditions or certain areas to have vibrations more than others. So some things that I have found to be helpful is the right front engine mount does fail pretty often, so I would take a close look at that along with your other engine mounts. If any of them are failing, obviously it could have more vibrations throughout the vehicle. So make sure those are nice and good. What I like to usually do is this is a two-person job and it could be dangerous, so make sure you apply the e-brake and you have your foot firmly on the brake pedal when doing this. Put into drive and apply some gas to it, have some load, see if the engine, front and passenger mount lifts a lot. Additionally, you could do the same thing in reverse, but again, proceed with caution here, guys. You don't want to run anybody over, their feet or anything like that. So e-brake up and your foot fully depressed as hard as you can on the brake pedal. We like to do this on a lift. It's a lot safer just in case there's any mishaps. But if you do this at your own risk. You could also check in reverse once again and see if the rear engine mount lifts a lot. And that could definitely cause some vibrations. Typically, it would be the front and the back. When the right passenger front mount breaks, then usually it falls onto the frame of the mount and causes a lot of vibrations. If all that is good and you still have some vibrations, I would try to do a throttle body clean and relearn. Also a good time to take a look at that intake tube. It tears a lot, especially as they age and those mounts start to get weak and they flex, puts a lot more strain on that tube. So all these different things could most definitely have an impact on vibrations. Clean that throttle body, get it relearned, use the Launch X431, great tool for that. I use it all the time, so great time to use that. Additionally, if the vehicle has been in any sort of front end accident where potentially these engine mounts are under a certain strain, a certain stress, causing additional pressure, it could be causing vibration along with aftermarket mounts. Don't rule those out. If you replace mounts, do OEM mounts. I promise you there is a huge difference, especially the front and the back. I know they're expensive, but get OEM mounts always, especially if they're hydraulic or controlled in any way, shape, or form. Those aftermarket mounts, they are going to be, a lot less expensive, but they're going to come at a price in the form of additional vibration. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is, what is something that Honda could take from Toyota and implement it on their engines? And this is real simple for me, and I don't know why Honda chooses to ignore this, but all they have to do with their direct injection engines is do port injection as well. So multi-port, you have direct injection, you have port injection. This way the valves would stay clean. There wouldn't be any carbon buildup or anything of that nature. Again, I'm not sure why Honda chooses to ignore this. Now, Honda doesn't have extreme carbon buildup like some of these other vehicles. Typically, we don't see anything crazy, but in certain conditions, certain people, especially with neglect, definitely build some carbon on those intake valves. So if there was port injection, this wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. And it's something real simple that they could do, something real simple they could implement on these engines. Does not take a lot of extra R&D and stuff of that nature. But I'm not sure why Honda just, continues to ignore this issue. Again, it's not really a big issue, but if this was implemented, it would never be a topic of conversation at this point. But it is what it is. One simple thing they could do, take from Toyota, port injection, add it to the direct injection, and it would be a great investment, not only to Honda and their reputation, but also to the consumer and their wallet. So hopefully that answers the question for you. Last but not least, question of the week. And once again, if you want a chance to win any questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below. So cold weather temperature, 0 degrees, so extremely cold. And this will apply to any temperature really, but especially in colder temperatures. Should you start your vehicle and rev it to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 RPMs to warm it up faster? And a simple answer from me is going to be no. Nobody likes to wake up in the morning from your warm, comfy bed and go outside and start jogging. That's just not something that any of us would like to do. Same thing applies to your engine, right? So when it's cold, there's a lot of lack of lubrication and things like that. Nothing is at operating temperature, so you do not want to rev it, to extreme condition. Now, you're not revving this to redline, but it is higher than you normally would on a cold start, let's say 1,200, 1,300 RPMs, which would be a safe zone. Now, if you chose to do this, I would say don't go any higher than 1,500, maybe like 1,800. Do not go past that, in my opinion. And once you see maybe a bar or two move up, or your gauge just start to inch up, it's probably okay to drive in those temperatures. Even if you just let it idle for maybe a minute or two, it's probably okay to drive after that. I would not recommend in any way, shape, or form starting it and revving it right away. I know it's cold and nobody likes to be cold. It's uncomfortable for all of us. Hands are cold, feet are cold, your body. But your engine is also cold, and this will definitely take a toll on it and have some premature wear, and it's going to be expensive for you in the long run. That's my opinion on it. I wouldn't do it. I would have a practice of remote starting it, so like that, by the time you're in the vehicle or you get to the vehicle, it's already at least a little bit warmed up, and you could probably just start driving it normally. Again, for the first couple blocks, and I talk about this all the time, I don't go past like 2,000-3,000 RPMs after sitting in my driveway for maybe a minute or two. I have external temp gauge. It's not external, it's part of the car, but I have a temp gauge that has a actual number, and I wait till 100 degrees on a coolant temp sensor before I start driving it. That's just what I do. Once it's fully warmed up, I usually rip the car at least once. And that's just what I do. But again, fully warmed up, in my case, is about 185, 190 degrees engine coolant temp sensor. And like that, we don't have any issues with dilution or anything of that nature as well. So hopefully that answers the question for you, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.